is the Elevated Grapes Podcast.
Elevated Grapes Podcast.
With your host, Sethi.
Your host, Sethi.
And Stylist Rashi Bindra.
It's time to get started.
Let's talk fashion, shall we?
Welcome everyone, I am your host Sethi.
And I'm your co-host and stylist, Rashi Bindra.
So today we're very lucky to have Rahul, who is a serial entrepreneur, has a couple of different projects on the go. One is a medical spa. He also operates as a co-founder, a bespoke menswear and made-to-measure boutique shop in just outside of Toronto, sort of in Ontario. So we're very lucky to have him. We're going to hear his story, understand sort of the challenges, the ups and downs, the successes, and why he is in this business of bespoke menswear. So Rahul, thank you for taking the time to join us and being on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. So Rahul and I, just a quick background, Rahul and I know each other for a number of years. We do a lot of work in the entertainment space together, and that's how we got to know each other. And as I learned about his line and more about what he does, I thought it'd be a good fit for this show, just because they do some wonderful work, and we wanted to share that story. So Rahul, we're going to start with you, man. We're going to leave the floor open. I want you to tell us your journey and what got you into the world of fashion.
It's a long-winded story, man.
It's all right. We got some time. I got my wine.
Sweet.
Cheers to that.
Right.
And let's cheers. And let's.
I have my
let's hear
water,
this.
so we're good.
Let's hear the story, man.
Hydration is good. Yeah, man. So my story started a long time ago. To give a full background story, I've always been into the business of arts. At the age of 18, I purchased my first dance academy along with two partners, and we purchased this dance academy because our team needed a space to dance. I was in Bhangra, so it's a Punjabi cultural arts sort of dance, right? And we did it competitively, but we practiced in backyards, we practiced on driveways, we practiced in parks. We figured we need some privacy at this point. So nonetheless, we purchased a space, and that was fine and dandy. At the same time, I was in university, so I, as you do after you finish business school, is you find a job in business. So I found a job in banking. That's where my interest in suits initially sparked. I got my first job. I figured, all right, you know what? I'm walking downtown every day. I'm looking at people wearing suits. I'm finally working in banking. Let me go buy my first suit. And my first suit was incredibly hard to buy. I didn't fit off anything off the rack. You know, I'm going to Harry Rosen, trying out multiple brands. I'm going to H&M at the time. I tried everything from small to big. I tried it all, and it didn't fit off the rack. I finally found one brand. And I realized I fit into it because the brand created what's called a drop 8. It's like the chest size versus the waist size, differentiating by 8 inches. And I'm like, wow, okay, someone thought of me. That's fantastic. I fit into this brand, but it's probably like, 4 weeks of pay will pay for this one suit. So it doesn't make sense to keep this going. Nonetheless, so I'm like, okay, I might as well spend this money on custom suits. And there I loved custom ever since. But I never got into the business. It's just a passion ever since. Built about 19 suits over the years. But I stayed in banking for years. And just as the journey continued, I fell into the space of mortgages. And I continued that story. And then something very unique happened. I found out that I can work as much as I want, but what am I building? What assets am I building? I'm pleasing people by getting into homes, but was I really happy doing what I did? And at that time, my sister and my mother, actually, they started a company called Divine Spa. And it was out there. We already started. It was a bricks and mortar. And I looked at their operation. I'm like, you know what? I can provide a lot of value here. I learned it in banking. I can apply it to this. And I did. And I told them to give me a year to prove it to them. And I took off.
Were you the first official model? Is that what your role was?
No, I stayed very far from that. No, none of that stuff. Behind the scenes, in a small little office, no windows, just working away and crunching numbers and coaching. So nonetheless, took it really great, and it proved to me that, hey, you can work without being in a bank. There is a job out there that you can make for yourself, and you can prove success by just sticking to it. And that was great. That felt awesome, and I loved it. So I never looked back at banking. A year into Divine, my partner in Nobles & Co., he approached me, and he goes, "Hey, bud, I want to start a suit company." And I looked at him and saying, if I do one more thing in my life, I think my wife's gonna leave me. So I'm not gonna too much time drumming, the school, the wine, marriage. It's too much. So no.
The battle of the entrepreneurial mind.
Yeah, man,
Mhm.
that was a balance. But it took him 6 months of like persistently, hey, we should do this, we should do this. And I said, listen, I'll evaluate it for you. Um, so I started it. We started evaluating tailors worldwide, and it was for him. And along that process, I started realizing, wow, wow, there are tailors out there doing some fantastic work, like absolutely beautiful work, but there's
Mhm.
marketing behind them to push that out there. So we evaluated almost 6 tailors worldwide. We tried China, we tried Thailand, we tried India. I think those are the 3 main countries that we tried, and Spain. And we ended up loving one particular. And during that process, I figured, hey, I love suits. My entire friend circle is always reaching out to me saying, how to pair this, pair that. I'm getting pictures before events saying, does this tie go with this shirt? Does this shirt go with that suit? And these shoes go. And I figured if I already have that attention from my personal friend circle, I have that drive in suits. Um, let's try this company out. Let's see if we can put beautiful suits on people's backs. And 400 suits later, within 2 years, I think we proved that this is a space I want to stick to. Yeah,
That's really
Mhm.
interesting. So talk about just that initial process of finding the tailor, because that's got to be just a task on its own. I mean, that the person who's creating your suit is what's going to be shown in the marketplace. That's what's going to speak to your brand. And so
correct.
obviously that must have been a probably one of the most important tasks of the building of the behind the scenes in the business. So
It
talk
is.
to us about that process and how that worked.
Yeah, absolutely. So that part is I can say yes, it was the absolute hardest part. My partner was the one mainly looking for tailors, and then we would evaluate them together. So what happens is you find these people, and you find them online by various searches. You go to Alibaba, you go to Kijiji, you go to just Google searching and deep
Yeah,
dive
yeah.
vendors, right? And once you finally find them, you got to vet them. And it's good that I've done so many custom suits. Like I'm that guy who's out there paying 4-digit numbers making suits.
Yeah.
And so you could say I've learned in that sense of what's good, what's bad, what's my personal taste. So when I spoke to them by asking, do you have this involved? Do you have that? What's your construction? So you question them over the phone, but you're not meeting them face to face, which is I guess that's just the modern way of doing things.
Well, it's also, I mean, like you're looking at proximity, right? Because if you're talking to folks in India and China and Spain, I mean, it's not unless you have the cash flow to fly out, tell these places
Mhm.
to meet them in person. A lot of it's dependent on video calls or phone calls.
Exactly. And you can only imagine the trust factor is huge there, because
Yeah.
you can tell me that you can make the most beautiful suit in the world, but do you make the most beautiful suit in the world? Like, do you? So to test that, we got custom suits made from all these people, and we would evaluate them. And we got multiple suits made, we got dress shirts made, etc. And just to see the quality of work, how's a translation of how we're measuring compared to how they're delivering. And either way, that was the process. So we first talked to them, and once you've figured out that they're the right fit, you evaluate the systems, how they collect data from you, how secure is it, etc. And then you learn, okay, so based on our tailoring and our measuring methods, how are they translating them into actual suits? Like, how are they turning measurements into 3D models?
Mhm.
And how close was that? And once we got that, we also evaluated what kind of fabrics do you carry. If there was a limitation, you're out the picture. Um, and yeah, so and eventually you just filter down to seeing who you love and who you don't love. In a
Uh,
nutshell.
Yeah, of course, and I'm sure the story has a lot of different angles once you dive into them. So thank you for sharing that with us. A tailor, or not a tailor, sorry, a bespoke uh, suit shop or a made-to-measure suit shop, it really varies. I mean, you can get a custom-made suit for $400, or you can get a custom-made suit for 3-4 grand. You know, and barring obviously you're talking about some degree different levels of material, different quality material, all that kind of good stuff too. So how do you know as you're entering the market, or as you're making your space in the market, what the right place to walk in? And like, are you the, and how do you build your brand around? Like, are you the, Like, do you come in as the middleman, like, that somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000 a suit, or are you going to be on the low end to build on volume? Like, how did you guys figure out your space in the market to do that?
You know what, Mr. Sethi, that's actually that's a golden question.
Okay.
It really is. It's like you're okay. So let me back up.
First of all, no one's ever called me that on the show, so you made me feel really important for no reason whatsoever. That's amazing.
You are. You're
and it's gonna go over his head. So
it's gonna 100%. My head's gonna blow. I'm gonna sit back with my legs crossed and have a glass of wine while you talk. Continue.
It is very Mr. Sethi thing to do, isn't it?
Oh dear God.
It's all jokes. But
Rashi no longer likes you anymore because she's like, man,
Yeah.
this guy's feeling soccer's head.
But you know what, to your question, how do we fit in the space? Man, my first thing was, oh my God, I'm gonna be one of those guys. Okay, no offense to my industry, I'm part of it.
Yeah.
But I want to be one of those brown guys selling suits.
Yeah.
First thing I thought of, like, who's gonna come to me? I really thought that. I'm like,
Of course.
because me as a custom, I purchase custom suits. I've made a bunch, and when I, as a customer, went out to buy custom suits, the way I value the companies is, okay, who's got the fabrics I like, who's got the cut and house shape that I like, and I went with them, and I got my suits from them. But how's someone gonna know, little old brown guy, and what kind of suits he's gonna make? So I was very skeptical. So when entering the space, my initial thought was, go low, go cheap, go low, because that's gonna attract volume, and after attracting volume, you can increase your prices.
Yeah.
That game. But before we started, I very quickly realized that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be the guy
Right.
go into a market and dilute. Not because of a business model doesn't make sense. I honestly thought that, okay, I'm not brand new to the industry. I'm a customer. I'm a product of this industry for so long. So why would I discount what I know?
Yeah.
So I looked at it. I didn't evaluate. I didn't go shop a bunch of my competitors. I didn't do any of that. I looked at the suit. I looked at my cost. I looked at what similar custom suits are selling out there, and we priced a model to be competitive with what we deem as quality work out there. I think Suit Supply does quality work. I think Harry Rosen's new line, like their Monroe line, starting at like just shy of $8.99 a suit as a starting bespoke suit. Like, I looked at these kind of companies and I go, hey, these guys have respectable fabrics, have respectable tiers. And me as a custom suit shopper, if I'm looking for the cheapest suit, I'll find that guy. But I don't want to be that guy. I want it to be someone who come to us and deem quality. So I entered in at a very mid-tier level. I shouldn't say me and my partner.
Right.
We entered in at a very mid-tier level. And that was, a decision was exactly, we don't want to be the cheapest guy in the block and be perceived that way.
Sorry, Rashi.
Sorry. Okay. It's actually really like what you explained. Your mindset was thinking who's gonna come to me and like how I should price myself. I think that's one of the things a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when we're starting out, we all struggle with that, because it's like, who is going to purchase this product or service from me? Maybe I should discount it and all of those things, because we're not adding. We kind of get scared of kind of having that value that we know we have and that we bring to the table, because we want to get into the market and get those customers. And it takes a lot to actually be like, no, this is my value, this is who I am, and this is what I do, and I'm entering at this price. And if the right niche and clients need to find me, they will find me. Or like, I mean, obviously there's marketing involved and all of those things. I'm not like taking that away, but just to enter with that mindset and be like, this is who we are, this is our value, this is what we stand for. Almost like, I mean, I'm not saying take it or leave it in like that sense, but it's like, this is who we are, this is where we stand. I think that's very brave from a entrepreneurial point of view when you start into a market, because I'm sure we've all faced that fear when we started out.
Absolutely. Rashi, you hit that right on the head. I read it somewhere once where they go, you could discount a product in hope for volume and hope for a future sale, etc. But when you discount a service, you're not discounting a product that you're selling. When you discount a service, you're discounting yourself.
Exactly.
My worth is actually not as much as I think. My worth is actually less than what I think. And you should know your worth. So I completely agree with you.
Well, it's that thing, right? You got to make that decision. Do I go the volume route on the low cost, or do I go at a value, right? And the value
Mhm.
that I feel like I'm worth. And also, you got to be very careful, because once you set that value, you got to stick to it. You can't be, indecisive and one month, okay, well, I'm gonna do all my suits at $400. The next month, I'm gonna do all my suits at $2,000, and you're selling the same material. Because then now it's like, well, anybody who comes in and says, well, yeah, I know he says $2,000 when he markets, but if you really push him, he'll give you the suits for $400, and then all of a sudden your value's gone, right?
Very true.
But you got to be
Yeah.
very careful if you're going into the market with a specific sort of mindset. Okay, I'm going to be the mid-tier price range, not mid-tier quality, but mid-tier price range. I mean, if your competition is the Holt Renfrews of the world, where they have that branding behind them, sure, they can probably sell the exact same suit that you would sell for a certain amount more expensive, but then they're also, they have the bricks and mortar, the
Mhm.
overhead, and all those other things to pay for. I mean, you can be cognizant of the fact that I can give my client that same level of quality suit, that same level of service, and they, probably a better fit, because I'm spending more time with them, for a much better cost. They're finding that long-term value in being a client of mine.
100%. And you got to give kudos to the big guys out there who have
100%.
and who have the marketing, and a lot of guys can come to us saying, all right, Raul, listen, I'm happy, I'm getting the suit from you, etc. But they come down to what makes, like, why is your price for the suit 1,000, and why can I get the suit outside for example, it'd be like a Summer in the City Holland and Cherry fabric that I know very well, that I won't name any competitors, but a big competitor, nowhere near where we're at right now, bricks and mortars, the whole 9 yards. They sell the exact same fabric for about 2,500. And my
Mhm.
client clearly came to me and told me that. They'll go,
Yeah.
I've got the exact same suit, exact same mill that produced the fabric, just the tailoring is different. And that's $1,500 more than what you're selling it for. So at that point, I'm the cheap guy at the end of the day.
Right.
And the only way to justify that is exactly what you said, Sagar, is that they are a bricks and mortar. They have branding, they have a
Yeah.
recognition behind them, and they have the opportunity to charge that much, and people will pay it.
Yeah.
I
But
am
it's
not.
but it's also the but then keep in mind that within that brick and mortar frame, they also have all those different expenses to take out, which is what that price of that suit
Exactly.
is also like paying for. In your case, you don't have that. So what you're doing is you're giving that value, that quality time, that one-on-one, and you have that ability to build that relationship with your client. And that way, if you want to tell their story through suits, and if that means bringing in other stylists and all of those things, you can actually do that and give them that experience, which that brick and mortar may not be doing, or cannot do it to the level that you can. So I wouldn't say that you would be the cheap guy in this, in
Agreed.
this sense. I would say that you would be more of a high value person in this. And now we're all about getting that one-on-one up leveled experience no matter what we do, especially since we all had to reset and rethink about what's been going on due to COVID and in the past few months. That's the way I look at this. Yeah.
Yeah, you're passing the savings on to your client, which is super important.
Yeah, I respect your point of view in that sense. That's exactly right. You put it much better. It's, we provide a better proposition. We provide a better bang for your buck because of what we can provide you. Yes, you're absolutely right in that sense.
So let's talk
I was
about
not a little bit passionate right there. Just
Yeah,
notice
right.
that.
Love it.
100%. She brought the passion in that little piece there. I think Rashi's a value based entrepreneur as well. Seems like that's her motto too.
Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about COVID, since we're just on that topic. Obviously we've been hit. Everybody's been hit personally. Everybody's been hit in their work life. Everybody's been hit in their businesses. Talk to us about sort of the impact on Nobles and Co. with COVID. I mean, I'm assuming it's a little bit different now than it was back in March. But let's talk about the journey of what these last 3 to 4 months have looked like for you guys.
Yeah, man, it's been rough. Let's put it that way. It definitely has. There's no way of sugarcoating it. I mean, I'm very real with what we provide. Right, we provide at the end of the day, the reasons why people buy a suit nowadays is they have a really good function in their life, they have a funeral, or they're going for a super formal function. But it's one of the F's, right? Super formal. a special function, or a funeral. So at the end of the day, it's kind of a luxury spend, right? So you only spend that extra cash flow when you have it. Times like what we're in currently, I mean, weddings are gone. Yes, funerals are still high, but you got a suit at home. Whether you're allowed to go to or not, that's a whole different factor.
Yeah.
But and there's no functions happening. So the need for a suit is out the door. If you're working, I mean, a lot of corporate businesses, you're allowed to work from home. And you
Absolutely.
need a suit, right? So the need for a suit currently is diminished. And we felt that. We felt that significantly because we have close to 45, 40, no, just a touch over 40 suits that we have sitting in our back room right now, waiting for trial fittings. All of these gentlemen didn't get married over the past 2-3 months, well,
Right.
4 or 5 months actually at this point. So yes, in that sense, we
Mhm.
feel that. Trajectory-wise, we don't see a crazy time this year. We do have sales that have started to come up. We've implemented safety procedures and we started it, but it's nowhere near what January and February was for us. So it's taken a huge hit in that sense, but
Mhm.
thinking positively for next year, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So what did you guys do to pivot to manage through that? Because again, it's a hit on revenue. It's a hit on the dollars coming in. It's a hit on probably on your suppliers too. So what did you guys do to
Mhm.
pivot, or what kind of strategies did you guys come up with?
Okay, so strategy-wise, well, I'll jump straight to the opportunity that we were presented. During this time, all you can really do is make masks. A lot of suit companies did jump. Oh yeah, a lot of the suit companies jumped up
Absolutely.
making masks, and I absolutely respect that because there's a huge need for it. Absolutely, a massive need. Companies are
Mhm.
making masks as much as they were selling. They were donating. There was a lot of really cool things going on in that space. But uh, my partner and I sat down, and Gudden is his name. Gudden and I, he goes by K Styled It. K Styled It and I sat down, and we're like, okay, is this a space that we want to be in? Because the demand was there. We started getting DMs, text messages of old clients, people
Mhm.
who that we in the business say, we'll spend the money, make me masks. And we thought, we're like, you know what? This is our personal decision that we did not want to pivot. We didn't want to be
Mhm.
these suit guys who are now mask
Mask
guys.
guys, right?
And again, a lot of the companies did it. Kudos to them. It's a smart decision, business wise. But we got into the business, like I told you, story is because we love what we're doing.
Mhm.
I love making suits. Do I love making masks? No. That's why we didn't do it. From a business mind, probably a dumb decision, but couldn't do it. We're not passionate about it. We do masks now for small businesses that we know, but not on a grand scale.
But then do you think like you would be able to do something like, I mean, and we're starting to like see that matching your mask with your suit, because even down the road, that's gonna be like your tie, like your,
Your accessory, yeah.
yeah, that's your accessory. It's gonna be like having your underwear in your closet, and yes, to your point,
Are you trying to say people?
everybody's
Are
doing
you trying to say
masks,
people
and
match their underwear to their ties? Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't match my underwear with my ties.
I'm just saying 'cause that's the implication
listen,
that she just made.
everybody's different.
She went silent for a second.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, we all heard that silence, right? It wasn't just me.
It was present.
I'm
Anyways,
just
continue,
saying,
Rashi.
if you want to have a very good style in your suit and it's your accessory, if you want to match other aspects of it to it, you should. You never know what happens in life. Always be prepared. But I am saying that would you ever go down that route of, saying that, okay, if this is your suit, this is your blazer, we can actually match your mask to your suit, because that is going to be happening. And that's part of, I guess, the future of where we're going as a society, and then obviously fashion will jump into that trend, right? So and that trend will be there for the next 2-3 years for sure.
100%. I completely agree with that. Making a mask is a compliment to a suit. For us at this current time, and Co, it's like making a tie for your suit. I'm not going to make you a suit and tell you, okay, go run, make this look pretty. I want to be involved in the kind of tie you pick. If we don't make it for you, send me pictures when you go to the shop. And just like a mask, then, yes, masks also tie with your outfit. You don't have to do what we want you to do. You don't have to take our suggestion, but we are going to give it. Understanding that you've respected us enough to allow us to design a suit for you, I'm also going to tell you how to match the remaining fabrics
Right.
whether it be leather on your shoes or whether it be the cotton on your face. Yeah, so I agree with that. Because we will be in that space with that regard, not on a mass sale e-commerce that level.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
our personal approach. So to your question, Mr. Sethi, we didn't pivot.
Oh God.
Sorry,
Well,
Why? What have I done to you? We just met.
but like Rashi just sounds so much nicer. Just like Mr. Sethi just has a, I don't know.
I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy this. I don't mind.
You
I
don't
don't
have
mind
to
this
work with
conversation.
him on a daily basis. I do.
Is he gonna bring this up again? Is he?
100%.
Yes.
Oh,
Almost in every
Sorry.
conversation. It's
All
gonna be
right.
like it's Mr. Sethi to you.
I just
Thanks. Thanks for that.
yeah.
Thanks for that.
Absolutely, man.
We will talk offline. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Okay. No problem.
I think in a comment to your strategy where COVID is based, there's something to be said about obviously making a smart decision from a bottom line. Doing
Absolutely.
pivoting, creating a another product line that would sell right now to obviously keep afloat. I think for you specifically, I can talk to probably the fact that you're diversified in your different ventures helps you to manage through that a little bit, so you guys can make a decision that is not only bottom line driven, right? Because there's something to be said about a smart business decision about sticking to your brand and sticking to what the company is known for, right? If, for example, you guys said, okay, well, we're a suit company, but nobody is going to work right now. They're not going to events. They're not, or if they are able to go to a funeral, they're going to pick something out of their closet. So they're not really stepping out of their house. Why don't we start making clothes for people to wear at home? Because we have the means to do it. It's just a matter of coming up with a couple of new designs and mass marketing, comfy wear for home. But does that make sense for your brand? I mean, it's the same idea as you guys going in and saying, I'm going to make a mask. Because it doesn't necessarily make sense for your brand. And if you're not driven by just bottom line, if you can continue to stick to your branding, it's actually a smarter decision for the long term of the company, I think.
I completely agree with that. And that's exactly why I say I respect all the companies who made the decision to do so. Because yes, I'm sure I'm just
It's different variables. There's different variables,
100%
right?
positive they had bottom lines to me, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, of course.
And 100% it's a good decision on their end. Yes, you're right. My portfolio is a little bit more diverse, and yes, I had other means, but that's exactly why we decided, hey, if we don't have to, we won't, and
Exactly.
we did it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
So,
I think that also, sorry, go on.
no, go ahead.
I think it goes back to that fact of, what type of entrepreneur you are. And, the one thing that we have established is that you are more of a value-based entrepreneur. And I think when you're a value-based entrepreneur, your experience, what you want to give to your clientele, is part of your brand. It's part of who you are and what you're doing. It's almost like you want to give a piece of you to each and every client that you meet and that you work with and that you build with. And if that piece is missing, it's almost like they're not the right fit for you. So I think that that's part of that whole being a value-based entrepreneur, which I mean, and I know it's a whole different discussion, but I think these are some of the things when people panic or when they're like figuring out, oh my God, what's next, they kind of lose that what type of brand am I, what type of entrepreneur am I, how can I pivot, or how can I figure out what's my next steps while still being true to my name and my identity. And I think we saw a lot of that in the past few months, and this is not in a disrespectful manner, but it's just that we did see a lot of that in the past few months, of people almost losing themselves, or restarting or resetting, or just trying to figure out okay, I should jump on this, mask wagon, as an example, because that's what the world is doing.
Correct. You're right. It's if you're a value-based person, you'll understand that. But then COVID happened, and I completely respect
Absolutely.
businesses who had to make decisions to stay afloat. It's a really big tightrope. Yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes there's really no choice.
It's very.
You got to find options that are going to work right now that'll bring money in, right? So that the company can continue to operate. So again, it's just like my point was that in your scenario, because you guys had the means to, you guys making that wise decision is we're going to stick to our brand and keep that keep that at the forefront so people know that, hey, this is still what we do. We're not changing. This is still who we are, and we're still here to support. If you're ready to come into us, we're ready to do it, kind of thing, right? So guys,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna call for a quick break right now. We're gonna go to a quick message and we'll be right back. All right, so we are back, and we're back with Rahul from Nobles & Co. So we were talking about COVID, Rahul, and the impact, and you guys made the brand decision to stick to what the brand is about, right? So talk to us a little bit about just the awareness and how you've been able to, and what you're doing to keep on top of your clients' minds, given COVID, given the fact, as you mentioned, not everybody's coming in right now because suits are not top of mind. You have hundreds of clients, suits sitting there just waiting to be picked up. And you're starting to see some pickup now in new clients, but how have you maintained that brand awareness for your clientele?
You know what? This pause, in a way, for revenue wise, of course, it was a kick in the,
right.
It was
You could say it. You could say it. Don't worry.
Is that right?
You could say it. You could say it.
It was definitely
Yes, go for it.
but with that being said, it was also a blessing in disguise. We took the time. We didn't sit still. We weren't just waiting, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for the market to pick back up. What we did with our downtime, actually, is we assessed our, in suiting, we call it the house cut.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Yeah, the house cut. So we're evaluating the way our suit is coming in with all the fine details. So, for example, are we nipping on the waist? Are we nipping in the rib cage? Are we? Is it tail end long enough, or should we make it a higher cut? The gorge, is it low enough, or should we angle it? So we went back to the cut of our suit, and we recreated the entire thing. So we recreated all the small details that make our house cut a little bit more special now. So the time we spent wasn't twiddling our thumbs. We sat down, we sketched, we looked, we researched, and we came up with our new house cut. And we stayed in touch with our clients by good old social media. I mean,
Right.
It's not like we can call people or reach out or go for coffees and discuss ideas. It's just more so staying in touch with Instagram and just staying live there.
You know what's awesome? I've actually never heard that answer before. Not the Instagram part. The taking a look at your own sort of house cut, your own line that you guys have, and paying attention and taking even more detail than what was available before. That's really, really smart. So you're taking what you already have as a value offering and a brand offering, and taking it further and spending the time to do that, because obviously right now, as you mentioned, clients are not coming in and as much, and there's a slowdown there. So you're bettering the brand value that the business has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you only have so many hours a day. If you allocate all that to your kids, they're gonna get spoiled. You gotta step back a little bit and go, okay, Daddy has to work, and that's what we did during our time. Yeah.
So on the same line of questioning, where it comes to managing through COVID, obviously there's going to be instances where some clients still need to pick up a suit for whatever reason it is, whether it's for an engagement or a wedding, because some of those things have started to open up now. Smaller environments, but they're still opening up. How are you guys managing through the supply chain process? Because I'm assuming delivery times are being stretched. Maybe your tailor or your manufacturer, wherever they are overseas, is saying, I can do it in 2 weeks, but maybe it takes 4 weeks now versus before. How are you guys managing through that?
The good thing is our tailors are situated in a place where they weren't drastically affected by the virus. They were,
Oh, it's great.
yeah, they were affected to the scope of, they still had a shutdown, that they still, for a very short period of time, but they were very quick to come right back in. I think they were had lockdown for maybe a month, but we weren't operating ourselves, so it didn't affect us in any way, shape, or form. But they were back up and running well before we were. And with that being said, when they mentioned that their turnaround times are quicker than ever, because they're like, we don't have a massive amount of fabrics to cut and stitches to do, but so we're available for you. Now, that being said, what the caveat to the whole deal is how fast can we get it to you? So once it's part of the facility, that's where the issues start happening, because it would have to situate from where we get it from, has to be sent over to Hong Kong, and then over to Cincinnati, and from Cincinnati over to us. So we're touching Hong Kong, and we're touching America.
Yeah.
We see it all over the news. And that kind of delay is what can delay shipments. With that being said, now that we're back into business now, although the stitching is done faster, the cutting is done faster, the shipping is the delay part. But when you net out, the timeline that we can produce a suit is the exact same.
Oh wow! So that worked out really good, and that way worked out really good for you guys.
Yeah, it was a good balance.
So, sorry. So you guys didn't face that challenge. That we talked, a couple of people we've been talking to is they've also faced the challenge of their tailors or manufacturers or their back end, being shut down or not even being able to operate any further because they don't have the orders fulfillment to be able to set up shop and bring employees back in. And maybe a couple of small shops or boutiques, but maybe not. Their level of manufacturing that was prior to COVID is not the same, so they can't afford to even operate. So you guys didn't really face any of those sort of challenges.
No, I guess that's the beauty of being a bespoke tailor shop, right? Again, we do bespoke and measure, and there's a whole conversation about that. We do very custom work, and the good thing is that's why when we evaluate tailors, these are things that we look for. It's are we dealing with the manager of a place, or are we dealing with the artist himself or herself? And it is dealing with the tailors themselves. So if they were to stitch in their homes, they absolutely would. If they were to open up the factory to stitch it themselves, they absolutely would. That's the guarantee that they've at least bestowed upon us, and they've followed through every single time. As a matter of fact, I think it was the beginning of July. The second week of July, we had a client. And he's getting married second week of July. And he came to us maybe the last week of June. So I had a total of maybe 2.5 weeks to turn him on a custom suit. And we did. We stuck to our promise. We designed, we delivered, we altered, we gave it to him 3 days before his event. And he was stoked. So it's a clear fact. It works. The timeline still fits.
From Hong Kong.
Yeah, I mean, our stitching isn't done in Hong Kong, but channeling through Hong Kong, going to
the process starts.
Yeah.
So do you guys, and sorry, this is I've never actually talked to you about this, but do you guys do, like, if a suit comes in, obviously sometimes there's a few minor tweaks that have to be made once it's brought in. Do you guys do a lot of that in-house here?
Yes,
how does that work?
All done in-house here, exactly. In our made-to-measure line, when the suit's delivered to you, when you're ready for your first fitting, you're coming in for your first fitting to try the suit on as you imagined it. So your pick stitch detail, your button sewed on, your pant length, etc. It's all ready for you, and then we just tweak it. Then the bespoke line, you don't see your actual suit. You see your suit all marked up, chalked up, stitched up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Facet version. So that is not done locally. That's pinned locally, sent back. Another draft is made, sent back here. You try it on, sent back, and then the final is made. So a bespoke takes a lot longer.
Yeah, it's a longer. There's a longer life cycle for that.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So we wanted to get into a little bit of the conversation around sort of the future of where fashion is going. Rashi, and this is an area that you have a lot of interest in, so I'm going to let you jump in and sort of lead the question that you wanted to ask about this. Maybe Rashi's frozen. Yeah, we're all a little bit frozen here.
So Rashi, you there?
Can we hear each other?
You also by the kind of like froze halfway there, so like your voice was epic.
That's fine. So we'll make sure we edit that out so that it's clear. But we'll start that part again. So Rashi, we wanted to get into the conversation about the future of suiting, and I know you had a couple of questions about that. So why don't we lead in with that?
Yeah. Okay. So, like, I think this is the question on like everyone's minds. What is the future of suiting according to you? And the kicker in this question is, how does technology play in it? Because I know that technology has been shaking up things in the fashion industry. So I'm very curious to hear how you feel it's going to, impact what you guys bring to the table.
All right. So this is there's so much to be said in this field.
We got ample time, man. We got ample time.
Okay, we're gonna need it. But just to back it all up for a second, what's the future of suits? I've been following a lot of people out there are talking that the suit is dead. They're saying there's no future for a suit. They're saying the needs for a suit are gone. They're corporate necessity of wearing a suit every day is gone. I mean, executives are asked to loosen their ties to show that you're more approachable aspect of things. But I don't look at I look at that as that's so wrong. I mean,
I agree.
a suit is an art. A suit is shouldn't show that you're a powerful corporate person. It should show that you have style and you can wear a jacket in a casual or formal way. So I don't think the suit is dead. There's a lot of arguments out there that it is dead, and I just want to put it out on your podcast that I'm here to say that the suit is not.
We
We
agree
all
with
agree
you.
with that
We
statement.
agree. Yeah, we're all on board with that here.
Okay, solid. So we're all in the right place here.
Otherwise, I gotta throw like 3/4 of my closet because it's all blazers.
Yeah, good. That's what we do.
Blazers and vests, man. I gotta throw them all out.
100%. They just hide everything. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
exactly, man. It's perfect.
I want to wrinkle iron my sleeves, but no, blazers I love.
You can't tell those little secrets, man. You can't tell those secrets. All the ladies can't know that.
For the viewers. Nonetheless, I don't think the suit is dead, and I want to start off by saying that. What is the future of suits? You mentioned tying in technology. I do think suits are very much alive, and I think they're more alive than ever. Technology is playing a big part because now people are able to stay in their homes, research their styles, look at the wardrobe, and perhaps do some research online, and very easily come across a lot of different platforms where you can enter in your measurements, and a suit will be delivered to you.
Mm-hmm.
Try it on. You can take pictures of yourself and message your company back where you bought it from. And a lot of people do this. And the business will tell you, okay, based on what you need, there's a local tailor shop near you. Take your suit there. We'll cover the bill. It's done. And yes, there's a client for that. There's a client who says, I know what I want. I know my measurements. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to order a suit and I'm good. But I also think that there's a type of client who will always appreciate this personal approach of, no, let the tailor let someone like us take it for you. Let us design, let us help you figure out how your body measurements are going to fit our formula. So I think technology will play a big place, but I don't think it'll take over the Bottegas and the ateliers and the maisons, and all of the artists of the world who do in-person stuff. I don't think that will take that over. My personal opinion.
So there's been a lot of conversation about virtual dressing rooms, about artificial intelligence, entering fashion. Again, with COVID, it is something that's going to be we will still be dealing with it for the next 2-3 years, and technology is obviously taking advantage of that aspect. And we're hearing about how instead of like companies adopting that technology, so instead of you having to meet your client one-on-one, you have your virtual stylist, you have them, like you said, entering their information, and you're able to still give them what they want, but that human to human touch is actually taken away. Do you guys see that happening a lot with businesses, and especially with yourselves, like adopting that technology into where you want to go in the future as a company?
You know what? So, okay, answered in a couple ways. Virtual consults, starting with that part, I absolutely believe in that. I think that you can achieve what you achieve in person online as long as both parties are find it natural to conversate and to talk over this medium. With regards to taking the measurements, that's the only part where I feel is how, right? If there's a digital rendering of you and a picture or a scan could be made and they can figure out your measurements and be really accurate, and apparently there is a lot of technology that can do that, I'd be more than willing to invest our time and energy into adapting that. But until that technology is more accessible, I don't see ourselves adapting. I still see ourselves doing virtual consults and then still meeting you in person, especially with us, to do the final measuring. So I think the gap in the affordability of who can afford this technology and how good this technology is. I would never embark on it if I thought that the alteration rate was 75%. So 75% that we deliver are being altered. I'd question that. I'd be very upset at ourselves if our alteration rate was above 30%.
Right.
If I can't keep that there, I'm not happy with the technology.
And let's say the technology is affordable, because if that's going to be something that is going to be entering the fashion, industry, yes, as with everything, the major brands will obviously have access to it first, but it will trickle down to making it affordable and easier and almost like a norm for everyone.
Yeah.
Then how do you guys see yourselves perhaps doing that? And I know it's a lot of what ifs and it's a very loaded question, but I'm just curious.
In that case, absolutely. If the affordability rate for something that's really quality can be
Mm-hmm.
that would be amazing. That is something I would absolutely embark on. That would also obviously mean as a business, you can hire more stylists who don't necessarily know the measuring end of things. They just know how to style great clothing, not necessarily how to measure it to make it. And that will eliminate a lot of human errors. Sure, absolutely. But it's until the technology is perfected and brings our
Mm-hmm.
rate again, in our opinion, to our standard, at
Right.
least less than 30% of alteration rate.
And that's a great point you made there, right? It's about stylists who some can really, really put clothes so beautifully well that they are really bringing out that person's true sense and their personality, and having them tell their story of who they are. But they're not very good at measuring, or they're not very good at the terminology of things. And then you have some stylists who can do it all. So I actually like the fact that you touched on that aspect, that there are stylists who are so great at what they do in terms of visually bringing it all together, but may not necessarily be the best with the measuring tape and writing those numbers down and figuring out the different parts of the body, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is the hardest part. I mean, we're dabbling with female suits now, and I think with that respect, yes, learning now a brand new set of measurements. I can only imagine someone who did no measurements at all who's trying to get into this field. It's a big gap.
Yes. Yeah.
So I want to make a point as a client who does buy custom-made suits, and as a stylist who helps other guys find suits. I would find it that experience when you're working with a boutique shop to build your suit, and you're touching feeling the fabrics, you're looking at the fabrics of the shirts, you're actually comparing the fabrics of the suit next to the shirt. um and I mean, obviously you can look at it online, but having the actual textures in your hand as you're looking at what your suit could potentially feel like once it's said and done. I don't know if you can mimic that same experience, unless you get some virtual reality goggles on and you can actually touch something and it feels like it. But I don't know if you can mirror that experience. And for me, part of getting that suit is that experience. Like I could walk into a retail shop that's in a mall and pick up something off the rack and cut it and still make it look like a made to measure. It could still look good. But that experience of building a suit with someone or building a suit for a client, and that satisfaction they get out of it, or me as a client when I get out of it when I pick up the final product, I don't know if you can mirror that in a virtual world. Like I don't think that's for anybody that's ever done it, that's gotten a custom suit done, whether it's a bespoke or whether it's a made to measure. Either experience, I think that you're gonna be hard pressed to find. Like I've done it for people where they're like, I'm never gonna go back to buying a suit off the rack anymore. I'll spend a little bit of extra money and get something like this done because I've never had something fit like this. You know, even if you cut it to yourself off the rack, like, I mean, it's still not the same feeling. So I think that's what's going to be hard to mirror in the AI and virtual reality world as that comes more, as we see more of it. We're going to see more of it, but I think there's still going to be a part of the clientele that's going to want that full experience.
You know what, Mr. Sethi, you hit one thing right on the head.
Oh God.
I stop now. But you hit one thing right on the head. When you go ahead and feel the texture of something, that's one thing. But looking at the color of something and the weave, you can get really up close pictures. You can get really
the same.
good editing to make it really real life. But I promise you, and to any of our clients who are listening to this, they know firsthand when they're in our design space and they take a picture of the fabric and they send it to their fiance or their friend or the best man or whoever that may be the key decision maker for the suit that's not present, that person looks at the picture going, it looks a little light, it looks a little dark, and he will look right at the table going, what the hell is this guy looking at? This is not light. Your camera resolution is one thing. You then send it over WhatsApp. It compresses. The person looking at it
Mm-hmm.
in a compressed file, which now is based on the screen, whether in the dark mode or in the light mode, the brightness on the screen, it all changes the fabric you're looking at. So not only is the texture different, not the texture is obsolete, it's only a description. There's also the factor of color, and is the right color you're looking for. And when it comes to weddings, that's a big thing, because the shine, the weave, the finishing, it all has to complement. Not this is all that's for, but it's got to complement his spouse.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
And I've been through
And
that. Like I went through the exact same thing. Like I was helping someone build a suit. We tried on a couple of things here in terms of textures and finishes, and we really liked it. And he's like, I'm going overseas to my tailor or to my manufacturer, and he's like, I'm gonna send you some shots because we have some new stuff coming in. So I'll send it over to you and see if you guys like it. I I I, I recommended no to the guy that I was helping. I can't make out myself what the hell is going on with that texture or that pattern or that look, and you know, and it's like unless we feel it in hand and see it, it's probably a beautiful fabric, but I can't. I'm not okay with you spending this kind of money on that fabric, not knowing until we actually feel it in our hands what that's going to feel like.
100%. There is a
Colors too. Sorry, real quick. He came back. The guy came back and he's like, so you didn't like it? And he's like, it was a very similar. It was a really dark, like navyish blue. It was a very similar blue to the one you're looking at, just a different pattern, and the texture was really nice. I'm like, show me the blue, and then he pulled out something that was a similar blue, and I pulled out the phone picture. I'm like, that does not look like that. Just the color alone. Forget the fact. The color does not look like. And again, it's not his fault. It's like you said. It's you send the pictures. You take a picture. The resolution is going to change. You send it through WhatsApp. It compresses. All those things happen. So I'm like, that's. But again, I can't make a decision based on what I'm seeing on this WhatsApp message, right?
completely agree. And see, those are all the issues that I see with implementing technology into the way we do our world, the custom suiting world, where someone's literally picking a fabric, picking the lining, picking the buttons, picking the thread, picking the cuts, model. Them actually dealing with textures in real life, I think it's going to be very hard to replace. Am I against it? Absolutely not. Am I requesting for that technology to improve and waiting for it to improve? Absolutely. I'm the first of my many friend circles to embrace technology. I think all of them can attest to that. So I sound like I'm against myself in that sense. Like I'm saying, no, I'm against the way AI is right now and it's scary for me. It's not. It's just not there yet from what I see.
I think okay. So the reason I had asked this question was like I have my own personal opinion on it.
Yeah.
Yes, AI and all the virtual world is getting better and they're getting smarter in mimicking as much as it can to real life. Again, COVID has played a huge role in pushing that faster. But the one thing I did find interesting was during this entire time, fashion weeks all over the world were canceled. They had to go digital. They had to then figure out how to do it, and they did. Everybody, I wouldn't say got very innovative, but they were finding ways to kind of bring their brand out there during what was scheduled to be like a Paris Fashion Week or like a Paris Men's Fashion Week or whatever. And then now, obviously, in September, they are like New York is doing their live in person Fashion Week. London is doing Fashion Week. They have obviously changed it a little bit. It's not happening for like an entire 14-day period. It's going to be a little bit shorter, and they have their like safety protocols. But the message that was all across during this entire time is that as much as going digital and implementing technology, and there were some beautiful fashion shows that I saw that I wouldn't say were virtual reality, but they had a different technology to it, and it's at the tip of my tongue, and I cannot say it right now. But what the number one conversation was and it goes back to the point that we were all having is, as a buyer, as a stylist, even as a consumer, when you're actually sitting and watching a fashion show in person and you're seeing the colors, you're able to pick up on the fabric and you're having that experience. No technology or no digital fashion show can kind of replace that. Like, you know, in Toronto, like let's just take our city. We've had there was a fashion week that recently happened, and they did their fashion shows on Instagram. um, I maybe saw one or two, and it wasn't not that I don't respect what they're doing, but I was like that intent, that attention grabbing and that desire to see it, to know it, was not there. Even with Paris Fashion Week, I got access to see some of the shows and or those videos, which then became, you know, accessible to everybody. But that that magical factor obviously was, you know, taken away. So yeah, I also feel that no matter how much artificial intelligence can mimic a real human and life and fabric and quality, I think that actual art of in person, that human to human relationship cannot be taken away, despite pandemics and technology and all the fun stuff.
Absolutely. I think people always come back to it. And you said that very, very well. Like, you can look at fashion shows all you like, but if you look at them online, there's only so much you can take from it. But with that being said, when it comes to fashion shows, I'm not sure if I'm going on a tangent here, but when it
No,
comes to
please do it.
and looking at that, look at the runway, I always find that for men, at least, for a lot of the guys that I talk to, if I were to bring up, hey, you saw that patchwork on that jacket? Like, imagine all those colors working together. 99% of the guys look at me going,
What are you talking about?
I don't get it. That that fashion show.
That's Mr. Sethi right here.
Right? It's like you could look at a fashion show and you go, I don't get it. It's too abstract. This is not real life stuff. But I guess what we all have to realize, what I realize, is that when you're looking at a fashion show, you have to really look at it with an open eye. I mean, it could be like a jacket that has like 4 different colors. I'm just going back to the same example that's patched together. But that on the runway is just showing you how that palette's going to work on the body.
Yeah.
You can imagine that tone of orange can be his shoes, that tone of blue can be his jacket, that tone of cream can be his slacks, that tone of brown can be his tie. You have to play with it, or it can be in a different order. But when we're looking at fashion shows, as men, I don't think we're programmed there. Like, we're not there yet to translate it. So in our industry, I guess the whole need of a fashion show to being like abstract work, I personally haven't seen it benefit us, at least, just because, again, guys aren't there yet. They see it.
But I mean, like we did have Toronto Men's Fashion Week for the longest time here, and that was very, very successful until the end, which was it's a whole different conversation that I'm not gonna like get into now. You know, you have Paris Men's Fashion Week, that's a very, very big deal. And a lot of the trends and even suits, you know, are super highlighted there. But to your point, yes, I see, and especially with my co-host experience, anytime I talk about a fashion show or say, look at this, it's like, I don't get it. And yes, men are not programmed to that
Hold
extent
on
to
to your comment
completely
right
get
there.
it.
All men. I'll put it that way. I won't say we are not programmed. Majority of my friend circle and majority of our client circle is not programmed.
My commentary on not getting fashion shows had nothing to do with the actual show. It had to do with the people that would show up at the shows, sitting in the chairs with all sorts of wonky outfits on. That was my issue with it. But we talked about
that. Is fashion. That is self-expression.
I understand, sure. I understand. And we talked about that. My issue was never with the fashion shows. But to your point about Toronto Men's Fashion Week, if you notice, it was still done very differently. And we're going on a bit of a tangent here, but it was still done very differently. The way they ran, even the guys who were putting the suits together or putting casual wear together, it was still put together in a manner that the average eye could look at it, be like, I can see myself wearing that. It wasn't built like a typical high fashion show where, you know, it's pieces put together, again, the way you'd have to look at it, the way Rahul was explaining earlier, where you have to look at, okay, how does that patchwork work in a suit, or how does that color tone work with, if I were to put that on a blazer with a tie? Like, you'd have to look at it, take the abstract away, and look at the individual pieces and see, or the individual colors and textures, and see how they could work in a normal everyday environment. Whereas I found Toronto Men's Fashion Week did that a little bit for you. Like, even the designers that were running their shows on there were running their shows again in a manner that their models that were walking on the runway, I could see a lot of those outfits being worn on the day-to-day as is without any major changes. That's at least what I from my perspective, what I found.
Well, that is because we are in Toronto and we're not known for high fashion, right? That's also a
No,
huge,
but
huge
that's
factor.
no, but but on the flip side of it, when you go to Fashion Week on its own, there's a lot of abstract uh, runways and a lot of abstract shows with designers that are doing exactly what we just talked about. And again, that's not to say it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that a lot of the shows even here follow that model of let's piece different things together to show the abstract thought process,
Um,
but at the same token, I mean, you'd have to go in and do what Rahul was saying earlier as a stylist or a designer or someone in the industry. Okay, well, what pieces can I extract from this to work with for a suit or for a piece for a client?
I I do disagree a little bit with you over there because Toronto, even with MasterCard being in there, a lot of the designers here, here's the thing. Toronto's never been able to push that boundary of being a high fashion city, whether it's regardless of the market that it's catering to, that even if let's say we three were all to go sit and watch a fashion show, we would all get it. And when I say get it, I mean, and it's not a bad thing to get it, that's not what I'm trying to say,
Yeah,
but
of course.
that that storytelling in Toronto is very different, and that messaging and that experience in Toronto is very different than, let's say, even if you go to New York. If you were to
Right.
compare the two cities, yes, some of the shows in New York have been a little bit more avant-garde, and and you will sit there and be like, what are they doing? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But yes, you'll still get a sense of how you could piece certain clothes together, but at the same time, they've always pushed that boundary, and that's what they're known for. Toronto, even until the whole sponsorship was pulled out, and then Toronto tried to do fashion weeks. Um, that that push of its like the whole idea of a fashion show is having an experience that you will not get walking down the street. Like if you're gonna watch a fashion show and you're like, that same outfit can be down the street, that's really not a fashion show. That's like, okay, we're all here, we're doing it because this is what we kind of do, and you're not pushing that boundary. But again, it's a whole different debate and conversation. I don't
Yeah.
want to get into this here. It's like very, very different. So that was a bit of a tangent, guys.
So Raul, let's divert back a little bit. So Raul, let's I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to give some closing thoughts. I just want to hear from you for Nobles and Co. What's next for you guys as a company, and as a fashion brand?
Okay, so I'll be honest. Right now, although we are mobile, we come to our clients. We also house them in our home-based design studio. We don't expect to stay here forever. This has been a test in the first year to see how well people like our stuff, how much can we get our alteration rate down, different metrics, different KPIs that we've put towards
Yeah.
ourselves. And now that we've met it, we're very confident that this is what we want to do, and there is a future for us. Um, I won't speak too much about it because this is a lot of things happening right now. But I will highlight on one thing. Nobles and Co will not be a standalone shop out there. It won't be this place you go to buy a suit, walk out. We truly believe that the only thing that will make one bespoke suiting company different than the other is the kind of experience you provide. So
Mhm.
our model going forward will always be around the experience, your experience, A to Z and beyond, of what it meant to make your suit, who made your suit, and how you're being served after you've had your suit. So
Mhm.
we're trying to sell that experience model, and we have a very, very cool project that we're working on to bring that to the market. And it won't be ready tomorrow. It's going to take months of work, but we're working on it.
That's awesome, man, and then we're looking forward to hearing about it and seeing it as it does come out. Real quick, I'm gonna ask you to drop your socials, your website. I know your website recently changed as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so drop your socials, website. We'll put it all in the description, but For the lazy people that don't want to read, where can they find you?
No, it's all good. So yes, like Mr. Sethi said, our website is nobles hyphen slash so nobles co.com. It's a brand new website. It's got a whole bunch of content on there, so do encourage everybody to check it out. Bookings are all done through that website as well. With regards to our tags, you can follow myself, Rahul Singh, and you can follow me at Rahul Singh with 2 L's, 2 I's. Our company is Nobles & Co., which is NOBLESANDCO. And my partner is K Styled It, which is literally K Styled It. And we're all on Instagram, and you can follow us, see our work. Nobles & Co. page, just want to let everybody know. I was like, why you have 3 different pages? I have my very personal taste, my very personal suit collection that I like to share on my Instagram. My partner has the exact same for himself. And then our business focuses strictly on what we create as a company.
I'm going to ask you just again a personal question because you just brought it up. What's your favorite sort of shirt collar design? Like in terms of, do you like the narrow cut? Do you like the cutaway?
See here, yes, this is okay. What I'm wearing right now is my absolute favorite. So there's a number of shirts. Sometimes one shirt gets made in 3 different ways.
Yeah.
The shirt I'm wearing right now, I'll just button it all up. It's called a widespread. It's a house cut for us, and we call it a widespread contour cut. So what that means is it's wide enough. I don't know.
We can see it. Yeah.
So it's a wide middle, so you can do your double Windsors and all that fun stuff. And what happens is it contours out on the sides. And what that does is a specialty cut for us, and this is one of my absolute favorite collars, is when you put that jacket on, it doesn't look like 2 straight lines going straight down or outwards or back towards your collarbone. It's this nice contour that comes down. So I feel like it finishes that jacket, especially if you have a tie on, so well. One of my favorites.
I love the attention to detail, man.
Collar pin will be a classic.
Yeah, no, I love the attention to detail, man. Those little things are some of the most important aspects of putting a finely cut suit together, because some things like that can just easily make or break the suit.
100%, man.
People, the look, sorry, not the suit, but the look.
Much like they think the shirts is like, all right, man, I got a suit made from you. Thank you so much for your work. I am now gonna resort back to my closet and see what kind of shirt fits with this.
No.
If you have a great shirt collection, kudos. That's beautiful for you. But I honestly think that you gotta get a beautiful shirt. Your shirt, your tie, your shoes will make or break your suit.
Shoes are everything, man.
Mm-hmm.
They are. It's a big deal. Yeah.
I just bought 4 new pairs of shoes, and for the record, that just came in the post this week. So it's great. So excited.
Thanks for sharing.
I have nowhere to wear them. It's great.
I'd love to see them, man. So
That's it. I got them, so I'm ready to go.
Wicked.
Yeah, where?
Yeah, I don't know. Whenever we can go out, they're all very dressy. A couple of loafers and a couple of like dress shoes for work. But yeah, they're ready to go.
All right, I'll throw a curveball at you. What made you want to buy 3 pairs of shoes? I'm completely for it. I got one myself, not 4. But you being at home, what made you want to purchase that? I'm interested to hear your purchase decision.
My closet is always ever growing, and I'm heavy into fashion. Just drives me again. Like it's something like I see something, and if I have to buy it, I buy it. So I'm a shopaholic when it comes to clothes. And I don't buy clothes with the intention of, it's going to go with this outfit that I already have. I buy it because I like it. And if I don't have an outfit to work with it, I'll build around it. So for me, someone sent me a link on some shoes that was, they're discounted and regularly would cost a lot more. So that was obviously a driver, but not like I needed it because I have, shoes coming out of everywhere. I have a closet down here. I have a closet upstairs. I have boxes under my bed that have shoes in them. Like there's shoes everywhere. So it's not like I needed it, but it's one of those things where I was like, but I don't have these specific designs. And, and that's worked for me in the past where I bought a pair of shoes. I matched and paired a blazer with a pair of slacks that I've never matched them before and, tied it with a shirt. And I'm like, I don't want to really, because the blazer was really bold. I think I have this on my Instagram. And then I was like, oh my God, I don't have a pair of shoes to wear with this. And then I went deep into my box underneath my bed and I'm like, oh my God, I bought these a year ago. I had them sitting there. Yeah. I took them out. They were like, they come with those little like shoe sacks. So it's still sitting in the sack. It was a nice pair of Dolce & Gabbana loafers actually. And so I popped them on with the shoes and I'm like, see, had I not made that decision at the moment to buy them, I'd be like, how do I finish this outfit out? And now it just rocked perfectly with the outfit. So again, it's one of those things. I'm a shopaholic when it comes to fashion.
You know what? I won't go down the road of commenting how you had a pair of brand new Dolces in the bottom of your bed in a box.
They're in the box. They're in the box.
You, I can only guess how dope your shoe collection is. I'd love to come out and see it one day.
Yeah, we'll get together, man. I'd love to compare notes with you because you can always guide me. It's like, this is good, but you got to get rid of this piece of shit because it's done. That's had its day. That's had its day. And it's funny. You know what's really really funny about the Dolce & Gabbana shoes? So that specific night that I went to where I was actually hosting an event somewhere, and I ended up finding those shoes and I wore them. So whatever, I came home and I guess I put them away. I think literally for 8 months I couldn't find them because I had somewhere else to go. And I'm like, these shoes would work, because now they're in my mind because now I've seen them. I'm like, these would be perfect to wear. I would love to wear these shoes. I could not find them. I ripped like my whole house apart. Like, I upstairs closet, downstairs closet, the secret box underneath my bed. Like, I went everywhere, and I don't know how this. Yeah, I don't know how this ended up happening. I have no more room in that secret box right now. Like, that box has, like, there's shoes in there that haven't been worn, but they got to be thrown out, or I got to make some moves because I have, like I said, 4 of the pairs of shoes that have no home right now, so I got to find that. But anyways, I found these Dolce & Gabbana shoes were sitting with all my winter scarves and hats. I don't know how they got there. I have no idea how they got into this other segment of my clothing. And this stuff, like, I pull out only when I go skiing. So it's not even like my regular everyday winter gear. It's just like stuff that's like, it's stashed away because once in a while when I go skiing, I'm gonna get into this bag. They were sitting in there. I don't know how they got there, but I missed a couple of chances to wear them. So it was a very upsetting.
Man, one centralized big ass shoe rack, man.
I need to organize this shoe situation.
He like needs a walk-in closet just for his shoes, and he got so passionate about that story that I was just like, wow, cool.
Fashion is very
cool
important.
Story,
to me.
bro.
Yeah, hence the reason for our fashion podcast. But yeah,
there you go.
Hey, Rash, you know what? We don't want to single you out here too. I'd love to see your shoes. I can't exchange any notes, but why not? We'll check your shoes out.
So actually, I went through my phase when I was younger of always buying heels and shoes. And then when I moved here, because everything's so freaking far compared to Montreal, it took me a good 2-3 years to really settle and figure things out here. And until I would say 2017, I never really felt that Toronto was quote unquote home. And trust me, there's still some days where I don't call it home. But then there are days I'll call both the cities home. So I go through those phases. So during that period, I was always doing back to Montreal. So I didn't go crazy shopping. But then as I started styling a lot more, and it's not as glamorous as people see on TV where we're like dressed up like to the nines, I was trying to wear like Converse's, jeans, and black t-shirt because I'm steaming. I'm running after models. I'm just all over the place. And
you're in work
somehow
mode. You're in
the
work
past
mode.
2 years. Yeah. And somehow that became kind of like my wardrobe. So, and then due to like my health, like just like trying to be fitter and better, I also lost a lot of weight. So right now I'm in that phase, and I also like evolved a bit as my style. I'm actually throwing out a lot of shoes, a lot of clothes, like a lot of it. But I do have my Disney shoes. I will say that I have my Disney Mickey Mouse shoes. That Sauter knows the story behind it because he was very much involved in it.
I got a pair of those too. The Disney loafers, the Mickey Mouse loafers.
Yeah, I like have the Mickey Mouse sneakers, and then I recently got the Cinderella slippers. Like the heels were sold out, so I got the slippers instead with a purse. The first day it came out, I was like, I need to have this. Yeah, I have nowhere to wear it. Nowhere, it's still in the box in tissue paper, but I have nowhere to wear it.
You guys are very much alike in the sense that you see a piece, it'll go sometime down the line, but I see the piece, I love the piece, I want the piece, I'm getting it right now. That's awesome. I can commend that.
I do the same with the blazers.
I never shoe guy for a long time.
Okay.
This is cool.
Just for the Mickey Mouse shoes, I was hunting it all over online. They were sold out. They only had some in Yorkdale. I think it was like at 7 in the evening or something. I'm like, so your favorite co-host, team business partner, could you please go
Oh, we're freezing. Rashi's freezing a little bit.
Pick it up. He's like, I can go tomorrow. Let you go.
Sorry, Rashi, you froze through
Are
that.
you still frozen or am I still frozen?
No, you froze through that whole. We all froze through that whole story. I think a little bit.
Yeah, but I do get the gist of it. The gist of it is Mr. Sethi ran out to buy you a pair of shoes.
Yeah, basically.
He had to go that same
yeah.
evening. Yes.
And then in the process, I
If
ended
not, I
up
would cry.
buying my own pair of shoes.
So see, it pays to listen to me. You also got the shoes. So
Yeah,
there you
they're
go.
incredible. They're
Moral of the story: listen to Rashi.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
I don't know about all that, but in that
Hey.
one instance, it paid off. So listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. The story is incredible. You know, I follow your stuff online too, and it's great to see the stuff you guys are doing. Excited to see the updates that you guys are working on and the projects you guys are working on for Nobles and Co. We're looking forward to it, and we'd love to sit down with you again in maybe 6 months or a year as some of these changes come in and have this conversation again and see where things are.
Absolutely.
To share the progress with you guys as it unfolds. Yeah. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me on the podcast too, man. It's been awesome.
Awesome. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on Elevated Grapes. Hey guys, thank you for watching that podcast or that video. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more of us and see some of our behind the scenes stuff, subscribe below.
Yes, hit that little red button thingy that's over there and hit subscribe and keep following us for a lot more cool fun stuff.
Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you soon.